Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. If you have any lingering doubts that given a choice between serving your interests and serving himself, Donald Trump will always choose the latter. I've got the perfect example of that for you, and it unfolded today, starting with the Supreme Court decision that touches on national security and freedom of speech, a decision that tees up a big opportunity for the incoming administration and its emerging alliance with big tech billionaires. Today, as you might have seen, the High Court unanimously let stand a bipartisan law passed last year, signed by President Biden, requiring the Chinese-owned parent company that owns TikTok, the popular social video app, to either sell its stake or face a ban in the United States. That ban would go into effect this Sunday. The justices, who, by the way, handled this case very, very quickly in a matter of days, so they can rush when they want to, the justices all agreed that TikTok's Chinese ownership meant, at least in theory, that it was a national security threat, as the government has argued, because it could share critical data about its users with the Chinese government. Now, there was never any real political upside to banning TikTok, to be clear. It's one of those issues where the voters who care the most are the app's users, of whom there are millions, who don't want to see the app go away, and everyone else might have feelings one way or the other, but they're not really going to get worked up about it. But the way this saga has unfolded has ended up being this bizarre bonanza for Trump, who is now going to dictate the policy unilaterally or ditch it. And it's a microcosm of everything you can expect from this next Trump presidency. So it's worth recalling how he got here, okay? Because it's a weird story. Starting 4 years ago with a call to ban TikTok from then President Donald Trump.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok. We may be doing some other things. There are a couple of options, but a lot of things are happening. So we'll see what happens. But we are looking at a lot of alternatives with respect to TikTok.
That was July 2020, and I want you to try to remember what life was like at that moment. We were, of course, in the middle of an election year and a pandemic that Trump was bungling badly and, importantly, blaming China for. It's easy to forget the racism that permeated Republican rhetoric, but that was how this started politically. It continued that way among some of the more xenophobic Republicans, like Senator Tom Cotton in this notorious exchange with TikTok CEO last year.
So, you said today, as you often say, that you live in Singapore. Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in Singapore. No, I did not.
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm Singaporean.
In August of 2020, Trump signed an executive order to ban TikTok if its Chinese parent company didn't sell it to a non-Chinese buyer within 45 days, saying, quote, "These risks are real. The government of India recently banned the use of TikTok," which is true, by the way. "The United States must take aggressive action against the owners of TikTok to protect our national security." Okay? Now, so this sort of was born in the cauldron of this kind of anti-China fervor, right? Skepticism and anger at China and the politics of that, which Trump was happy to wield in the midst of a pandemic he was bungling because he wanted to blame China. Now, that's one part of it. It should be said that beyond the MAGA China bashing rhetoric, the security concerns around TikTok were real and bipartisan. As I said, India banned the app for basically the same reason. While Trump was banging this drum in 2020, Democrats in the Biden campaign were telling their own people to just avoid the app over its data privacy. But you might wonder how Trump went from saying these risks are real and signing executive order to ban TikTok in 2020 to saying this last year.
I could have banned TikTok. I had it banned just about. I could have gotten it done. But I said, you know what? But I'll leave it up to you. I didn't push him too hard. Frankly, there are a lot of people on TikTok that love it. There are a lot of young kids on TikTok who will go crazy without it. There are a lot of users. There's, a lot of good, and there's a lot of bad with TikTok. But the thing I don't like is that without TikTok, you can make Facebook bigger. And I consider Facebook to be an enemy of the people.
You see what's happening here, right? All of a sudden, Trump wanted to ban TikTok. Now he likes TikTok, but he hated Facebook. Why the flip-flop? Well, who can say? But it might have had something to do with Trump's March 2024 meeting with billionaire investor Jeff Yazd, a Republican megadonor who happens to hold a big stake in TikTok's parent company. After that meeting, Trump came out against a TikTok ban. Like, I think it was the next day, maybe, after they met, something like that. And Yaz not only contributed tens of millions to Republicans, he also became the biggest institutional investor in the Shell Corporation that merged with Trump's own social media company and took it public, a move that helped rapidly grow Trump's net worth. Now, at the same time, Trump's original ban had stalled in the courts. And last year, again, Republicans and Democrats in Congress joined together in an election year, mind you, to pass their own ban of TikTok. It passed overwhelmingly as part of that foreign aid package to Ukraine and Israel. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, signed into law. That is what the Supreme Court upheld today. So the law's been signed. It's going to go into effect. It can on Sunday. But now apparently we're going to end up with basically the worst of all worlds. A pending social media ban that is unpopular among its users and also civil libertarians, protected by a new Supreme Court decision that could potentially hand future administrations broad power to crack down on free speech by citing national security concerns. So what does the president, Joe Biden, for another few days, think about all that now? A reporter asked him today.
What's your take on the TikTok decision today, sir?
Well, the decision will be made by the next president anyway, so I think it will work.
The decision will be made by Trump. So now it's all just passed over to Trump. Weirdly unilaterally, like he can enforce the law or not, he can stop it or not. What will Trump do? Well, he will absolutely take the golden opportunity that was just given to him to walk in and act like the savior of TikTok, as his incoming national security advisor, Mike Waltz, told Fox Today.
We will put measures in place to keep TikTok from going dark. In the legislation allows for an extension as long as a viable deal is on the table. And then, essentially that buys President Trump time to keep TikTok going. It's been a great platform for him and his campaign to get his America First message out. But at the same time, he wants to protect their data.
You see how this works, right? Before he was against TikTok because he was mad at the Chinese. Then he was for TikTok because banning TikTok might hurt Facebook, and that was his enemy. But now his message is getting out to TikTok, so he likes TikTok. Like, none of this has anything to do whatsoever with any actual national security concern or policy merit, right? Just a man of the people giving them what they want. A man of the people who loves how his posts are doing on TikTok and whose personal wealth is buoyed by a major TikTok investor, and who has invited TikTok CEO to sit in a position of honor on the dais at his inauguration alongside former presidents and dignitaries. That CEO today, surprise, surprise, got on TikTok to kiss the ring.
On behalf of everyone at TikTok and all our users across the country, I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States.
So Democratic lawmakers, including the president, pursued this ban, again, against political headwinds, purely because they had a genuine good faith set of substantive beliefs about the merits of the policy, right? They really did. There's no other reason. They were convinced this was a national security threat. Whether they're right or not, I still can't say. But they did this purely for a substantive commitment. They believed it was good legislation, and they did it in an election year. And now it's incurring a backlash. And they are passing the power to save TikTok off to Donald Trump, who initiated the whole process, so he can ride in and save the day and the interests of a big donor. And what does saving TikTok look like? Well, maybe handing it over to an American buyer like co-president Elon Musk, or new MAGA friend Mark Zuckerberg, who does not like his sites having to compete with another social site. He really wants TikTok banned, right? Because it helps Instagram. And guess what? They'll both be at the inauguration along with a TikTok CEO, right? Or maybe Trump will just not enforce the ban. Maybe he'll come to an understanding with the Chinese. Probably worth noting, just hours before the Supreme Court ruling, Trump was on the phone with Chinese leader Xi Jinping talking about trade and TikTok. So you got everyone sitting in before, like, what's he going to do? Well, the one thing we know is that the ultimate decision Trump will make about TikTok will not be at all, won't even pretend to be, frankly, about what's best for you or what's best for the country. It will be about what's best for Donald Trump. That's all that matters. This is the politics of dictatorships and kings. It's not the politics of a democracy.